Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us today on our final session for the Playbook webinar series. And we have Neha Singh here again, a seasoned creative director, branding specialist, and an educator with close to 2 decades of experience in graphic design and brand strategy. Those of you who have joined us before, welcome back. And those of you who are joining us for the first time today, welcome. And a little bit more information about Neha. She is the founder and the creative director of More on Design, and she has led award winning projects that shape compelling brand narratives across industries. Her approach blends clarity, principles, and impactful storytelling to make a lasting mark in the design world. Also, Neha is an adjunct faculty at the Ahmedabad University, where she equips students with the skills to craft brands that go beyond aesthetics, creating immersive, strategic brand experiences. Now, um, Neha,
Hello, hello. Two
this is
decades make me sound so old.
2 decades experience.
I know, right? That sounds like a lot, but time just flies. One never realizes how long it has actually been. So, everybody, welcome back. Thank you for joining again. Um today, I think I'll just directly start with the session. Wali.
Would you want to run us through the last two sessions? Just a few bits and pieces. There
Yeah,
are,
we'll do a recap. We'll do a recap to begin with, and
yes, we will start off with the session.
done. Awesome. All right, so this is what we have been talking about all this while. The first session was about finding your core customers. In the last session, we spoke about how do we get to crafting a brand strategy for your own business or brand. And today we're going to talk about how do we take that strategy to market to create a lasting brand. So the first thing we spoke about was our core coming to our core target audience, which is Tam Sam Som. And within the core audience, through social listening and through other tools, how do you get to the psychographics? How do you understand the behavior of your core audience like you know your best friend? Now, the exercise we had in the last session was identify your top three villains. So, and I think we had a discussion with Parth. I think Parth is here today, isn't he?
Yes,
Parth,
ma'am.
could you
Yes,
unmute?
ma'am.
Awesome. Did you find your three villains after our discussion the other day?
Yes, ma'am. I have found it out, and ma'am, actually, I'm on the site. I will be attending the session, and it will take 5 minutes to me connect back.
Okay, no problem. Does anybody else wants to talk about their audience's villain, top three villains? Top three villains are top three core pain points that your audience has been facing in the process of buying your product.
Yes, Aditi, you've raised your hand.
Yeah. As I am into SRH and wellness, my audience is top three villain. One is that there are first thing is that different brands, but no, I mean different options, but no one solution to cater to the different body types. And second, not all products are doctor verified. Okay, because different body and different there are women and there are also people who identify themselves as women. So that those are not doctor verified or OBGYN verified. Third thing is that lack of products in the space of uh, for menopausal women. And this is like a fourth thing, but it is important. So most of the pleasure products that we have, they are not very discreet. So in the terms of design. So how can you make such product discreet? Because there's still a taboo when you order that or you take it in the airport in your luggage. So these are the four, I will say, yeah, like 3.5 to 4 villains.
Great job, Aditi. I think you've done well in identifying your core pain points of your audiences. I would like to, however, point out that since you mentioned discrete, I think Muse has really picked up on this point as the core pain point.
I actually have
And
taken Muse products. So Muse products, yes, the design maybe is not, the design is not discreet, but the packaging is. So, but if one opens the product, it still will look like, what it's supposed to look like. Maybe in the packaging or in the billing, what you have ordered will not come, but the design. How can we, like, for example, just giving an example, like when I was, planning my design prototype. Okay, for my sexual wellness brand. So one of the things for the pleasure toys, we decided that why not turn the pleasure toys into everyday objects. Okay, because that will be discreet. So for one of them, we for one of the massager, we actually made it into a shape of a lipstick, like so
correct, correct.
or
Yeah, yeah.
other shape, or other, like, or even like a mascara. So, like, so that it is discreet, but, like, when you open the design, you'll be like, okay, it's a mascara, it's a lipstick, it's a different thing.
I
It's
understand. I understand. In fact, Aditi, there are several brands who are doing exactly that. In fact, the examples that you mentioned, lipsticks and mascaras. So, what I'm trying to get to here is that you have taken the right first step in understanding what the audience's pain point is, and that will help you in defining the strategies further. What I would, however, tell you is taking the examples of something like Muse. See, they've built an entire brand story on this entire discrete factor, right? Now, you've mentioned two other pain points. You can build your entire brand story around any one of those. And that will be your distinguishing factor, right? That can become your core positioning. So when you're creating your brand strategy, and this will be helpful for everybody listening, when you're creating your brand strategy, what you have to do is find your core differentiator and find the absolute top pain point. Bridge that gap, and that becomes your unique positioning, which nobody else in the market will be able to claim. Right? Aditi, does that make sense to you?
Yes, yes, that works.
Great. So now, moving on. In the last session, we discussed three things: clarity, consistency, and consciousness. Who can tell me कि clarity क्या है कि भूल गए? What did we speak about in terms of clarity? What does clarity mean? So, all of last session, primarily, we were discussing how to get clarity about your brand strategy, right? How do you get to create your own brand strategy, which stems from clarity? So, I'll just give a recap. Remember this, which is exactly Yashaswini was listening. I'm so happy. So, how do you get to your one point statement, which is the meeting point of all these different truths? This then becomes your brand truth, right? Where you have the category truth, which is based on the market, you have the company truth, which is based on you have the customer truth, which are the top three villains, and you have the culture truth. How does culture influence your customer? So, where all of these 4 points collide, that's where your spotlight is, right? What about consistency? So, once we have that core message, how do we translate that same message, same experience in living the truth? Yes. So, same experience across different touch points. That is the core essence here. That you may have your audience connecting with you at different interfaces, right? Such as your website, your social media, your when you do a cold call, or when you do a customer care call, or when you're closing a deal, if there is a human interface involved there, or when somebody is visiting your store, the physical store, somebody is visiting your e-commerce store, all of these different places should have a unified experience. There has to be a underlying thread that connects everything together. That essentially is consistency, because branding is nothing but being consistent for years together. You continue to do the same, you keep hammering the same message for years. That's how you end up becoming top of mind recall, right? At Moron Design, we always say that branding is uh, is a game of top of mind recall, right? But we it is actually a relationship of the heart. So you need to connect both faculties with your audience for years, and that's how you become uh, a loyal brand for your customers. Coming to consciousness, this was about feedback and redressal, right? Consciousness is where your efficacy of entire brand management comes in, and this is what we are going to talk a little more in detail today, right? So, consciousness, in fact, branding is all about reputation management. It is about creating a positive impact, positive image in the minds of people. Remember, last session we spoke about Tata and how Tata is Desh Ka. Tata equals to trust. And if you ask anybody what Tata means, the first thing that come to their mind is trust. Why? Because consciously they have embedded this message that Tata is Desh ka namak, Desh ka steel, Desh ki gadi, Desh ka ratan, Desh ka everything. And for years they've been doing that. So अब हमारे दिमाग में automatically when we think of Tata, we think of trust, right? Or we get this entire patriotic feeling to it. In fact, a very some time back there was a very interesting case study that was done by Carspa, which is a car detailing brand, wherein they did a works pop between Tata and Mahindra. Both brands are very strong in their recall value, right? People are very loyal either to Mahindra or to Tata, but the kind of responses that people gave about Tata was very interesting because everybody said Tata hai to strong hi hogi, gaadi strong hi hogi, right? Whereas Mahindra is also known for its strength, its rugged cars, but टाटा का सेफ्टी अलग लेवल है, राइट? सो दिस इज द इम्पैक्ट ऑफ क्रिएटिंग अ पॉजिटिव brand image in the minds of people. How do you create this reputation? Let's look at a couple of examples of how different brands have faced crisis in the past and yet they have managed to maintain their reputation in the minds of people, right? We'll start with the most famous case that happened, which was Cadbury. Do you all remember कैडबरी के अंदर वर्म आया था आई बैक इन 2003? Yes. Okay, let's make it a little more interactive, guys. So this was a major crisis for Cadbury's because like instantaneously the entire nation got affected by it, and obviously Cadbury's got affected by it in a huge way because worm in your chocolate is a huge deal, right? There was a tremendous backlash from the entire audience. Now, how did Cadbury actually handle it? In the minds of people, what they did was immediately they brought a new brand ambassador. They brought Amitabh Bachchan because why? Leverage by association. Amitabh Bachchan is this thing for people love him. He has a certain sense of authority, right? He has a certain connect with people. Yes, Maggie and Nestle. Yes. So the fact that Amitabh Bachchan is endorsing Cadbury's, मतलब अच्छा ही होगा. That's essentially how endorsements work. Leverage by association. तो ये तो हमें दिखा in TVCs, and this is what we saw as audiences. But what did they do in the background? They did approximately 15 CR of investment in redoing their entire machinery for packaging. So earlier, it used to come in a foil with a paper wrap, which wasn't covered. They redid their entire machinery and they got the metal foil, which is closed from all places, so that it is obviously safer. There's lesser damage. With that, they also did Project Vishwas, where they engaged with the retailers to educate them how to use this, how to handle the product efficiently, right? क्योंकि मैन्युफैक्चरिंग से तो सही निकलेगा बट ट्रांजिट में जाके उसका क्या हुआ, एंड इवेंचुअली लेटर रिटेलर के पास कभी वो कोल्ड में पड़ा है, कभी वहां से बाहर निकाल के बाहर हीट में है, तो कोल्ड एंड हीट एंड ऑल ऑफ दैट reduces the texture of the quality of the chocolate. So educating the retailer was also equally important. And then obviously brand ambassador and media relations as well. So addressing the negative backlash that was happening, being very transparent about it, all of these things were done in the back end. So remember in the first session we spoke about the iceberg, where strategy is the bottom of the iceberg, which is the largest chunk, whereas what people see is only the top little bit. So what people saw was Amitabh Bachchan, but there was a whole bunch of things that they did in the back end, in the actual core, in order for the endorsement to effectively work with the audience. वरना अमिताभ बच्चन का शक्ल है पर फिर भी अगर वर्म निकल रहा है तो nobody is going to really care, right? So as a brand, you have to do the back end as much as the front end in order to get a great cohesion and response from the audiences. और इसको measure करते रहना बहुत ज़रूरी है. Second very interesting example is that Snapchat ने some derogatory comment towards India दे दिया था, wherein they spoke about third world country as they're very cheap and whatnot. That created a huge backlash for Snapchat. But Snapdeal got caught in the crossfire. People stopped using the app, they uninstalled it, they had a major backlash happening just because the name sounds similar. So, what I'm trying to say here is that there are times when it might be your fault, such as in the case with Cadbury, that because of your lack of management or something, you might face a backlash. But sometimes there might be things which are absolutely out of your control. आपने तो कुछ ही Snapdeal ने तो कुछ ही नहीं किया. Just because the name sounds similar to Snapchat, it got a lot of backlash. But you also see an example where you have those loyal people who feel for the brand and they're like, yeah, kuch to, let's do something about them. And that's the emotion that you want to look at, which is positive sentiment, right? People should feel positively about you. They should feel connected to you. They should feel like, yaar, ye to mera brand hai. You know, I am a part of this. So when you get that, that's where the entire synergy of where you are intending to for the loyalty to go and where your audience, your community is actually becoming loyal to you. वो वहाँ पे meet होता है. A best example for this is Amul. ठीक है, Amul का इस मतलब when you say Amul, the first thing that comes to everybody's mind is the hoardings that these guys do, the topical advertising that they do. Interesting fact, you all might think that हर एक सिटी में अमूल के approximately 100 odd hoardings होंगे, but all inclusive all over India में उनके less than 50 hoardings है. And yet all of us know कब अमूल का hoarding change हो रहा है, and I can assure you all of you in different cities will know this, right? Please say 100 or give an emoji if this is true, if this resonates with you. So why is that? Nothing but consistency. They have one hoarding which is placed at a strategic location, and wo har consistently they keep changing it. And every time that you cross that path, which everybody in the city will eventually do because the hoardings are placed at a very strategic location, you are automatically drawn towards that hoarding because you know कि यहाँ पे अमूल तो होगा ही, and you're like अच्छा अभी क्या नया बना है, right? So coming back to this the video example that I have here, somebody, anonymous random person on Instagram, he created this video where he got Amul ka masti dahi, 1 liter wala packet, and usko open kiya in front of the camera and trying to pour dahi from it, and the curd is sort of coming out in a fevicol kind of a consistency. It appears very sticky and it just doesn't feel right, and the entire video is about how Amul is giving bad products, and they show the entire uska a manufacturing date and it's not in expiry or it's not getting expired anytime soon, but still the dahi is so bad. So that's the content. The video went viral, and on the next page you will see the content. So one of the first things that you see when you go to the comment section is that Amul has responded to the video. Now this is some random video by some random person, it's not an influencer, it's nobody, but Amul as a brand, and it's a giant of a brand, Amul has responded taking onus, taking, showing concern, saying ठीक है अगर हमने कुछ गड़बड़ किया है तो please let us know कि क्या scene क्या exactly. What's most important though is that the people, other people in the comment section are endorsing the brand. There are comments such as इन पैकेट्स में इंजेक्शन करके कुछ भी किया जा सकता है, शेयरिंग वीडियोस वोंट हेल्प सेल योर नॉन ब्रांड फेक दही. This is so misinformation. I have never had this experience. This looks so fake. भाई लोग ऐसे हैं, I think someone is running a campaign against someone. मतलब ये this is the next level of the loyalty that you can aim to achieve, right? And a brand like Amul क्या है? Amul is nothing but a dairy product. Amul has been able to do this. Uh, the person who creates, who used to create, and who has created the Amul ka mascot, when he died, the entire India went on Twitter and went on different platforms to mourn his death. This is the kind of loyalty that actual, like real strategic work can achieve for anybody. It's not like ये अमूल के लिए हो सकता है. Anybody can do it if you follow the right process. तो वो process क्या है? So before we go to the process, we'll just talk a little bit about the prerequisites कि आप go to market strategy बनाओ, उसके पहले आपका base set होना चाहिए. Now, a brand basket is something which is absolutely mandatory for any business to create if you're looking at scaling as a brand, right? So components of brand basket are, there are two things that you can do. The first thing is ideal. However, if it is time intensive and it is cost intensive, so if that's not something that you would want to go to at this point, you could look at just a stylescape. I'll tell you what a brand book is in just a minute. I'll explain the stylescape first. A stylescape is a combination of everything that you stand for. It should include your brand pillars, which is your vision, mission, where do you want to eventually be, your values. More importantly, it should include all of your visual elements. आपका tone of voice क्या होगा? Will you be professional? Will you be fun? Will you be serious? Will you be a mix of two different things? Will you be educative? It will have your visual language, which is your color palettes, your textures, your patterns, everything. It'll have, if you're going to use illustrations, it should have an illustration ka guideline. Ki, okay, the illustration will always be like this. It should have photography guidelines that the photographs, if you're shooting, it should be like this, etc., etc. What this does is, if you have an in-house team, or if you're getting an agency, or if you're changing an agency after a year, this is the guidance that you give them so that they can create content which follows in sync with your brand. And that's how you achieve consistency, right? So all of your assets, whether it's your website, it's your business card, it's your social media, your brochure, everything, your packaging, everything should stem from this visual style guide. I will just share just a second. I'll just give you an example uh, of a guidebook as well. So this is something that we have done, and then I'll also share Starbucks. I hope the screen is visible. Vali, is the screen
Yes,
visible?
yes, it is.
Sujal, right? Oh, okay, awesome. So this is a jewelry brand based out of Ahmedabad, and this was the brand book that we created for them. this this book is a bible that essentially has everything that you would look at and want to know about the brand, so that any new stakeholder that's coming in, you just show this and they'll get a complete essence of what the brand stands for. ठीक है, तो it also has your audience persona, specifically उनके frustrations and all of that that we're talking about. Then it goes into the details of brand, vision, mission, values, norms, brand promise, positioning, the persona of the brand, and this is a tone of voice, right? So tone will always be aspirational, etc. What we are not boring, we are not cheap. So defining what we are not is as important as defining who we are. Then the entire brand story, so that whoever is the stakeholder gets a very clear picture of what you stand for. Then we go into the identity. So what is the identity? What is the story behind the identity? Where is that where is it coming from, all different kinds of variations, and these are mandatories. You cannot go smaller than 1.5 centimeter, meaning no matter what the situation, you can't go smaller than that. So this is like a patthar ki lakir, right? Then partnership logos, how will it look? Different versions. What not to do with the logo, extremely important. Your core color palettes, different gradients for extensive use. Your house font, these are fonts that will be used in every all of your collateral. Visual language, right? What not to do in the visual language. Video style guide, different applications of the video for your visual language. So it is, so again, how will your script and caption look? What is your elevator pitch? So all of these things have to be very, very specifically defined, so that anybody who is coming in, or any person who is representing your brand, will know how to talk or how to represent your brand, right? So this is an extremely essential step before you get into creating a go to market strategy. I hope it's clear. Is it clear? Have you any questions so far?
You mentioned about this brand book. Like, who should create this? Should we tell the designer or the founders? Whose responsibility is this?
Yes, the designer. You have to get a professional designer on board who will help you create a brand book. However, there are tools like Canva. I personally don't recommend it because it's very limiting.
Mhm.
But if you have the aesthetic sense and if you have a very clear vision, Canva has templates which you can use for your brand book. However, having a professional on board is always a better idea.
So, what contribution as a founder should we give, or should we leave everything to the designer? What inputs should be taken by us, or the designer only will do the all these things?
No, that obviously it's your business. So then you will have to give the designer a lot of inputs in terms of who are you as a business, where is your competition, what is your vision. So you'll have to give the base. Again, if you're hiring a professional designer, they will come with their set of questions. So it's a designing this level of a brand book is a 2 month exercise, which involves a lot of research. It involves a lot of iteration in terms of design, etc. So any professional will come to you with their set of processes and questions, and you will be asked to give your inputs, and then obviously they'll go and do their research and come back with solutions.
Ma'am, is it possible to have download that book for and you can share that suggestions just to have a reference like what exactly?
I'll give you something better.
Oh, thank you so much. So kind of you.
Just 1 second. So this is a website called. Sorry, wait. There's a website called Branding Style Guides.
Okay.
Please make a note of this.
Yeah, I'm taking the screenshot.
So this website has a lot of different style guides. So you'll find McDonald's, next Netflix, Bolt, etc. All of these are free for download, and it's a great resource. So if you look at Burger King, I'll
Mhm.
have to download it, but you can look at it at your own time. So you will get the entire detailed everything that you need to know for creating your own brand book.
Okay. Okay. Thank you so much.
There is a, just for everybody's information, there are more such perks coming in at the end of the session. Stay tuned. All right, so the first thing is that we have to create clear guidelines that shows possibility within constraints. Because if we remove all the constraints, then it's like, and it's open to anybody's interpretation. That's where brand dilution happens, and brand dilution is the kryptonite for branding, right? So consistency के लिए consistent होना जरूरी है. All right, so now let's get to brand messaging. Does anybody else have any questions so far?
We have one question in our chat. What are the list of things to do in a brand book?
So if you look at brandstyleguides.com, you will get like, look at a few good ones, such as Burger King is really good, McDonald's is really good, Starbucks is good. If you look at three, four of these really extensive ones, you will know the topics that should be covered, ideally. And then you can also look at a few which are not as extensive, to get a balance between, what's really really detailed versus what is essential for you at your stage of the business. Because not every business is the same. If you are in the process of scaling up multi-city, then the details required in a brand book will be a lot different than if you're, let's say, geographically limited. If you're going in for franchisees, your brand book will have for a lot more details than when you are Coco, company owned, company operated. So have a look at these references. You'll get a lot of idea from there. And if there are still questions, you can DM More on Design on Instagram. I'm always available. I'll take it up.
Okay.
All right, so moving on to brand messaging. So I'm going to very quickly take you through a simple framework, which is called a Popeye framework. This will help you in identifying and pinpointing the right strategy that you can take, because channel planning is one of the most critical stages in your go to market strategy, right? When you're looking at image management, having the right channel for your approach is extremely important. So that's where Popeye comes into play. Now, Popeye stands for paid, owned, partnership, earned, community, where thoda cheating kiya hai, and experiential. These are all different types of channels that are available out there. And then it becomes your sort of, based on research, based on understanding of your competition and market, you can then define which of these are most applicable to you. So what all of these stand for is paid, matlab all the media that you have to pay for. ठीक है, जिसमें टीवीसी डीवीसी आ जाएगा, ऑब्वियसली परफॉर्मेंस मार्केटिंग आ जाएगा. सो मार्केटिंग के अंदर भी, सोशल मीडिया मार्केटिंग के अंदर देर आर टू पार्ट्स. One is organic and the other is performance. All of this owned, partnership, earned, all of that comes under organic. Whereas when you pay Meta to spread your ads, that comes under performance. Then you have search ads and display ads. Search ads are SEO based, Google ads, wherein if you are, say, if I search for Muse or pleasure toys, what is the first thing that comes as sponsored? That's your paid ad, search ads. Okay. And display ads are, let's say, if I go on Make My Trip and there's a banner on top of Muse, for instance, then that's a display ad. Sure. So these are all different kinds of ads that you can do. Then there are owned media. Now, this is a very, very strong and unfortunately very least used or least efficiently used pillar, wherein you have your app, you have your site, you have your physical store, you have blogs, newsletters, very powerful thing. Unfortunately, it is not used effectively. So all of these things are places where you have absolute control. So this is very, very cost intensive. While this is free, this is cost intensive in terms of creating quality content and creating great experiences. So between paid and owned media, paid media में आप whatever content that you play, you will still get eyeballs. Whereas in owned media, if you put in some effort and legitimate effort, that can become your differentiator, right? Then we have partnerships, which is co-marketing, sponsorship, creators, affiliates. Now, this is where you find alliances. You find people who in the market who are in the periphery of what you are selling. So let's say if you are a fashion brand, a jewelry brand could be a great collaborator, right? Now, if the jewelry brand has, let's say, 30,000 followers and you have 25,000 followers, Your content, both your content will be visible to each of you. You this These things become a great tool for growing organically as well. Sponsorships, I think everybody knows, इसमें तो कोई वो ही नहीं है. Creators, मतलब we have influencers, we have all different kinds of people who create the content for you, and affiliates are people who sell your products. ठीक है? Earned is organically earned. मतलब if you all find this valuable, send me a Google review. That's earned media, right? So review, referrals, uh, PR. If it is organic PR, that comes under earned, which means if somebody is writing an article about Maggie के अंदर वो आ गया है, right? That is negative PR, but it's still organic PR. Maggie is not paying them to write that article. So if similarly, if somebody is writing something positive for you, that's earned PR. How, and I hope everybody knows what PR is. PR is public relations essentially, right? If it is the paid process, then it will feature under this. But I personally prefer PR to be an organic activity, not a paid activity, wherein you get a PR agency on board and they will ensure that journalists keep publishing about you on different channels. And that is, while it is indirectly paid, it's to the audience's eye, it is legitimate organic content that the publication is writing for you. Did I confuse you, or was that clear? Should I explain this again?
PR, we could do one more time. Just
Okay.
yeah.
So public relations is handled in two ways. एक तरीका ये होता है that you approach, let's say, Times of India with an article that XYZ, we have created a new pleasure thing which does not look like which does not look anything like a pleasure thing, and it's revolutionary. So you write an article about this, you approach Times of India and you're like कि page 3 में ये publish करना है. They'll charge you X amount of money and it will termed as an advertorial, which means you have paid to get this article out. So that is paid PR. That in the industry standard is the least favored kind of PR, because as an audience I know कि ये तो पैसे दे के लिखवाया है, तो पैसे दे के तो कोई कुछ भी लिखेगा, authenticity नहीं है उस piece of content में. So a better way to handle PR is that you have organic PR. Now organic PR, unless you have done something revolutionary, no journalist is really bothered about what you're doing. The only way that you can get them to write about what you're doing is by hiring a specialized PR agency, and their sole responsibility is to be in the network of journalists and get them to publish things that you're doing. Let's say, for instance, if you're doing a great, if you've conducted a dealers meet which was experiential in nature, for instance, so the PR agency will get their journalists to talk about experiential events happening in XYZ state. And that's where you will get featured. Recently, XYZ brand did this. Now, to an audience, this seems like a pure organic piece of content. And that's how it becomes more valuable because you get credibility. So, this is a better way of handling PR. I hope it's clear now.
We have it was very clear. Now we have
Okay.
a question here.
Hmm.
If Sanket Shah asks, if we
Hmm.
hire an ABC agency for PR, how do they make organic PR without them actually publishing? Can you throw some light on this? Which PR agency has good journalists on board? I work for a startup and always struggle with organic PR. Could you please share your experiences in here?
Right. So, Simulations is an agency that does pan India. In fact, I believe they are the largest in India. Apart from that, we have Kaizen Communications. Sorry, Kinesis Communications. They're also rather good. They also handle pan India. If you want, I can. Maybe you could reach out on Instagram, and I can share their contacts with you. To answer your question, if we hire an ABC agency for PR, how do they make organic PR without them actually publishing? So they do publish. I'm not quite sure if I understand your question correctly, but the way organic is handled is that, let's say if Sujal Jewels, the brand book that I showed, let's say if I want to create a positive image about Sujal in the minds of people, and I want to use PR as a tactic. So the role of my agency, my PR agency, will be twofold. One, they will train a representative from the company to be the face of the face of the PR company for journalists. So one point contact जो सारे question answers करेगा, and two, they will get a dump of all the talking points that Sujal can offer. Say, for instance, lab grown gemstones is one of the topics. And so the PR agency will get bullet points of what Sujal wants to say in that, say, domain. And they will connect with their network of journalists in whichever city we want. Say, for instance, we want to spread the word in Gujarat and Maharashtra. They will connect with their entire network of journalists, and they will spread the word saying, this, are any of you writing about this topic in right now or in the near future, reach out to us. So that's how they essentially they work. This is a very, very simplified version of what really happens, but the broad idea is this. Yeah, correct. Yes, of course. So hence it won't, in that scenario it's not sponsored at all. It is purely organic. ठीक है. So now coming to UGC. UGC is the most difficult to achieve, but it has the most credibility because somebody else is creating a content for you with praising you or something for you. Most difficult, but most effective. Community is something that we all aim to achieve, and is the most difficult to achieve. Here you have different apps such as Meetup, you have chat apps. Like every app now has community option, right? WhatsApp has, Instagram has, everything. So getting there, having your community channel and all of that is something that every brand must do. Very difficult to achieve, but if you actually can crack it, it can work wonders for your brand. For your brand, like things we have, Discord now has become big. So I think Nike doesn't have anything else now. So it doesn't have any of the social channels now. It only has Discord, if I'm not wrong. Midjourney purely uses Discord. So these channels really create. If you can crack this, there are people who are just sitting there to talk about you. The best kind of marketing can happen from here. Finally, we have experiential, which is events, guerrilla marketing, all kinds of stunts. If you can create challenges, experiences. So all of these are actually give an individual an experience about your brand. Again, very powerful, very less used. So coming to how do you pick, मतलब इतना सारा पूरा world of possibilities है. How do you decide whether you should go for partnership or should you go for paid or should you go for within owned, should you go for just Instagram or website? What do you do exactly? So here is where, if you all remember, we discussed a couple of websites to check where your competition traffic is coming from, right? Similar web, which didn't work, but I'm hoping it will start working soon. It's a very, very useful site. uh, Things like that can give you insights on what is working for your competition. Say, for instance, if in your industry YouTube is working better than Instagram, you must not spend your energy on Instagram. So the simple power or law of distribution is that you spend all your energy or maximum energy on one channel and just be present on every other channel. You, in today's times, you have to be present everywhere. You cannot not be present, because that's almost as good as you not existing at all. So you have to be present in most of the channels, but put your entire 70% of your focus your energy should be dedicated to just one channel. So for instance, if you're a B2B business and Instagram doesn't make sense to you, your audience, your core audience is not on Instagram, they are on LinkedIn. Don't put any energy on Instagram, don't put any energy on Pinterest. Just be present with really good content on LinkedIn, parallelly Twitter, along with that, if at all, WhatsApp. But that's it, उससे ज़्यादा करने की ज़रूरत नहीं है, because everything else is a waste. So this is your mantra of finding कौन सा वो channel है जो आपके लिए ideal रहेगा. So first thing is obviously do your competition research, see what is working the best for your top competitor, and then you do this exercise where you find where your audience is, where is it, of all these channels, what is it that works best for you, and which channel gives the highest ROI. ये तीनों का जो भी चीज सेंटर में आ रहा होगा, that's the one that you should go for. Clear so far? Are we good?
Yes, we have two questions.
Yes.
Uh, Rahul wants to understand, get some examples on UGC content. Um, and our other question by Mr. Sanket is, how much time owned media and UGC will help in PLG growth? Growth flywheel will it take be normal?
So I didn't get the last part. So growth flywheel take normally. I didn't quite get that. Could you explain this a little bit more? While you do that, I'll answer the first part of your question. How much time own media plus UGC help in product led growth? See, this is where the gray area is, because there is no definite answer for this. It may take, if luck favors you, it may take 3 months, it may take a year of trying and error. So you have to really try several different things before you find something that works for you. So it's not, there's no formula कि आपने 6 महीना एक्सरसाइज कर लिया तो आपको कुछ ना कुछ तो मिल ही जाएगा. You have to keep trying, do a lot of different permutation combinations to find that one tiny bit that works for you. It is a funnel process. You have to start where you look at targeting a large set of audience. Obviously, we're only talking about some, we're not talking about TAM, but you have different segments, and within that you create different versions of creatives, which is called A/B testing. Okay? So you test out one thing, you test out something else, see how that is working, do data analytics, again refine it further, and that's how you get to something that can work. And then you continue to do that over a period of time to get your ideal growth
Hello.
flywheel.
Uh, yeah, Neha. So just I wanted to ask you in a detailed manner was, so I am into actually D2C, and
Hmm.
so we have a product, and
Hmm.
which is quite scaling in Maharashtra region as of now.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
So I just so in the month of February, so I just tried to expand it into South.
Hmm.
Okay. So
Hmm.
actually, yeah. So the observation was the advertisements and the videos.
Hmm.
जहाँ से I got traction for
Hmm.
Maharashtra.
Hmm.
उधर से मतलब the numbers जो which I observed in Maharashtra, it was excellent, and if we try to see a comparison in South, it was quite low.
Yeah.
So abhi, see abhi I can't go for say regional content as of now,
Hmm.
and क्योंकि अगर if I enter with a regional content,
Hmm.
तो फिर वो it would be like a different content for east, different for now for north and south. So so here the complexity which I'm going through is that ki, advertisements are happening, sales happening, right, लेकिन हाउ विल आई इंश्योर दैट कि ऑडियंस अंडरस्टैंड्स अस कि हाँ बाबा ये चीज इसके लिए है
Hmm.
understanding. So I want that east, west, north, south should also understand us at like immediately. जैसे देखते हैं ना अपन ये ना, अमूल दूध पीता है इंडिया तो लाइक यू नो सो इट इज एन इंडिकेशन otherwise like you know na 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 so like it's an
Yeah,
airtel. So
yeah.
I wanted कि something you know कि wherein as soon as audience just sees my ad, he or she should understand कि अच्छा ये तो इसका ad है लेकिन
I understand. You're talking about brand recall. So there you are actually talking about several different things. The
Hmm,
first one is that something works really well in X market, doesn't work exactly the same way in Y market.
yeah,
And your core objective, your larger vision is to be recognized as a national brand,
exactly,
right? So these
yeah,
are two. First of all, let us understand that these are two different points. Okay. Now, if let's say my objective is that I want to be recognized as a national brand, I'll be running national campaigns, national level campaigns, right? Now these okay, let me give you an analogy.
hmm,
Do you think Bata is an Indian brand?
no,
Oh, I'm so glad. How many of us know that Bata is not an Indian brand? Very few, right?
right,
बिकॉज बाटा एज अ ब्रांड उसका स्ट्रैटेजी ही यही है कि वो जिस भी कंट्री में जाए दे want the people to feel like this is a local Indian or whatever country ka brand. This is not a foreign brand,
yeah,
right? As opposed to Ching's noodles. Ching's
hmm,
noodles is Indian brand, but
yeah,
the approach, the way they want to communicate is that it's a foreign
Chinese
company
brand is kind of
which is launched in India.
yeah,
Bata is exactly opposite.
yeah,
So, what I'm trying to tell you from this analogy is that when you're looking at creating a national brand, the entire approach towards advertising is very different.
okay,
Whereas when you're, let's say, targeting locally,
hmm,
now, since our TG is different, the behavior of somebody, people from Maharashtra, is different from people in the South. You will have to create content that resonates with your audience. Again, we are going back to behavior. ठीक है?
hmm.
तो unless you are aiming for national presence, where the entire strategy will be different. It will not be local anymore.
Yeah, actually ये सब तो लिखा हुआ है already. See, I'll just give you one uh, uh, you know and experience जो which I got is the मूवी के जो लोग हैं ना मतलब मूवी पिक्स वाले उनके लिए मुंबई में महाराष्ट्र में ना इट इज ऑल अबाउट हिंदी एक्टर्स के लिए बट इफ वी आर मूविंग इनटू साउथ में ना तो वहाँ के लोकल एक्टर्स आर एक्सटेंसिवली यू नो कि अच्छे एक्टर्स के उसमें से आ जाते हैं वो लोग सो इवन the endorsement which is happening from the Bollywood actors across India versus the endorsement especially into the all the five states of south तो तो उधर भी actually so you know the sales are dropping.
Yeah, yeah. So I understand where you're coming from, Saket. Fundamentally, it goes back to psychology, right? Behavior की ही बात हो रही है यहाँ पे. Now,
Right.
I would really recommend कि अगर if you want to know more in detail about these things, I think upskilling or learning more in detail might really help you answer your questions, probably create better strategies for you.
Okay.
This, unfortunately, is not the right platform for such detailed one-to-ones.
I
Maybe
got
we can connect at a separate juncture.
definitely.
But to answer your question, because I don't want to leave you hanging, is that see, we're going back again to behavior and psychology. You,
Okay.
if you are looking at creating a macro audience, you have to look from a macro point of view. If you're going micro, then you have to really dive deep into a micro mindset. I hope this sort of answers. It's a lot more. This point requires a much larger discussion, but for the moment, for now, I hope
Yeah,
this answered.
yeah, yeah, it also works for me. Cool
All
then.
right.
No
Yeah,
issues.
sure.
And thank you so much for
Somebody,
this.
no, not a problem, not a problem. Somebody in the this thing asked to explain A/B testing a little more in detail, right? So I'll just talk a little bit about that. So A/B टेस्टिंग इज बेसिकली आपने सेम मैसेज को देने के लिए दो डिफरेंट तरीके यूज किए. सो मे बी they are called frame of references. So when, let's say, if I say sun, the sun can represent heat, the sun can also represent life, right? Now you create two different versions of creatives on these two different frame of references, जिसमें एक सन बोल रहा है कि हीट है, गर्मी लग रही है, and the other creative saying is the sun is a giver of life and the world wouldn't, earth wouldn't exist if sun did not exist. And ये दोनों creatives आप अपने defined audience को दोनों creative आप दिखाओगे, and then you will see कि which of these creatives is resonating better. Let's say the fact that sun gives life is resonating better with your audience, and how you check that is कि आपने जो भी उसके अंदर CTA डाला है वो CTA पे लोग क्लिक कर रहे हैं. For instance, it's a poll. I'm just giving a very random example. ऐसा नहीं होता है. You CTA is either it fills a form or goes to the website, something of that sort. But for the current example, let's say it's a poll and most people click on the life wala post and they don't interact with the other post so much. That gives you an idea कि ये chain, ये direction of thought, this frame of reference is working better for your audience, and that's how you create a funnel. तो फिर आप लाइफ वाले कॉन्सेप्ट के ऊपर और ज़्यादा क्रिएटिव्स बनाओगे. आपका पूरा कैंपेन आप लाइफ वाले कॉन्सेप्ट के ऊपर बना के देन यू पुट दैट अक्रॉस out in your market. And usually the testing period for a campaign is 3 months. So you do A/B testing for a month, and then uske baad 3 months ke liye you run a campaign. After that you do testing again to see which one has worked better, what has happened, what did work, what did not work, etc., etc. You do your analysis, you redefine your entire campaign. I hope this answers your question. All right, so moving forward. So the crux of this is that ये तीन का ट्राइफेक्टा का जो मीटिंग पॉइंट है, दैट्स वेयर यू फाइंड द मोस्ट पोटेंट चैनल, एंड वो चैनल के ऊपर 100%, if not 100 then at least 70% attention you must put so that it gives you the best results. ठीक है. Now these are some questions that can also help you in defining which channel will work best for you. So, is there a low effort, sustainable way without compromising on your brand? Now you go back to the Popeye framework and उसके अंदर आप देखो इसमें से कौन सा हो सकता है low effort and sustainable. Say for instance, putting up posts on Pinterest is the most low effort way of getting some sort of attraction. Let's say if you're good at writing, then blog will be the most potent and the most low effort, right? So you can do the entire charting ki, say for instance मेरे को कैमरा के सामने I get very conscious, so it's not possible for me to create videos. That means uh, being the face of the brand वाला जो entire process होता है where I become the brand ambassador, वो तो हो नहीं सकता. तो in the entire chart of things, owned media में सबसे कम होगा वो. So that's how you chart the whole thing कि paid owned media वगैरह वगैरह को पूरा लेके chart out करो which is the least effort and maximum result, and something that you can sustain for a long period of time. That becomes your top of the checklist. Does it go with what the brand stands for? Now, medium is the message. Basic चीज होती है. तो अगर if I am a high-end luxury brand, I'm not going to do leaflets. So what channel, what platform you pick, what you do on that platform should be in sync with what your brand stands for. अगेन उसका भी आप एक पूरा चार्टिंग कर सकते हो कि ओके दीज आर द टॉप channels and top mediums that I've decided. Now let's see whether my brand syncs with this or not. Does your ideal customer persona have high representation over other platforms? We go back to this, right? Where is your audience? So agar aap, let's say if you are in a D2C market and your, or let's say if you are a car detailing company, what is the one place where every car owner comes to? A petrol pump. आप पेट्रोल पंप पे एक होर्डिंग लगा लो, बाय डेफिनेशन सारे जितने गाड़ी ओनर्स हैं वो देखेंगे, राइट? सो where is what is that one platform where all of your audience is anyways pulling in? That becomes top in the line of the one that you should pick. If you had 30 minutes, how would you do it? This is a very interesting question. This is something that I use very often. कि से मेरे पास 30 दिन है वर्सेस मेरे पास 30 मिनट है. What will I do? How will my plan be different? So apply this question in everything that you do, and you'll find very, very interesting answers. And the final question is, what are the table stakes? Now, this is the most important question, which unfortunately बहुत ज़्यादा sideline होता है. Now, anybody who has played poker or blackjack will know that table stakes are the starting point of the game, right? Say for instance, अगर 500 का टेबल है तो आपको कार्ड्स देने के पहले 500 रुपए टेबल पे रखने पड़ेंगे. Only then you will be dealt the cards. So table stakes are what is the absolute basic that you need to have in order for you to apply it. So if for अगर organic marketing है तो you will need to hire an agency in all probability. So for that, let's say minimum agency budget is 45,000. So 45,000 minimum for 1 year. If you're doing performance marketing, a minimum absolute rock bottom is 1,000 per day. 1,000 per day for the next 3 months. These are your basic table stakes. You need to account for these things before you get into any kind of activity. ठीक है, ये बहुत ही important question है. This you as founders and business owners have to be very very clear about this, and then you can refine what you have done ऊपर जो आपने पूरा चार्ट करके डिफाइन किया कि कौन से ओके दीज आर द 5 channels where I have to be present, of which this channel is the most used. अब मेरे इस चैनल के टेबल स्टेक्स क्या है वो डिफाइन करो, गेट टू दैट.